One, this is becoming like a recurring theme, tragically. Senator Joe Manchin, enemy of all things progressive at this point, he voted with Republicans to block $4 billion for a UN climate fund and divert it to Pentagon R&D, to DARPA. And Senator Tom Cotton, who's a MAGA conservative, he argued specifically that this needed to happen because we needed the money to fight China, right? So last year, Joe Manchin also blocked Biden's Build Back Better legislation because at the time he was saying we couldn't afford to do infrastructure investment because we needed the money to fight China and Russia, which is, of course, like bizarro logic, but whatever. So this is a pattern, right? And it reflects the military Keynesianism bargain that Democrats have made for most of the past 70 years. So like the theory for Democrats is supposed to be that, this goes back to the early Cold War, they support high defense budgets, and in the modern context, they support China rivalry. They reiterate that rhetoric, they support that position, they validate it and legitimate it. And then in exchange, they're supposed to get public goods, right? Infrastructure, a welfare state. And the way this works out in practice, it's like the Republicans are fucking Lucy with the football and Charlie Brown. Like America's political economy has never, except for a couple rare moments, never really worked out this bargain the way Democrats think it's supposed to, right? Like we're the fucking suckers. We continuously go on to the Republicans' terrain, we accept their premises, and then they austeritize us. They say, well, we can't afford to do that shit, right? And so the public good stuff always gets fucking lopped off and narrowed, and then all we're left is this like military shit. And that's how we get the military Keynesian uber national security state, where a Democrat, Biden, puts $813 billion down on the Pentagon, more than even Trump, who was a hyper-militarist, right? So it's tragic and upsetting, but it's like of a pattern at this point, right? So I just wanted to flag it because once again, this militarist mindset is contributing to an outcome that is ultimately really unstrategic. We're completely mismatched with the kinds of threats that we face. We are taking money away from dealing with the existential problem, the problem of our time, and routing it toward this like ethno-nationalist boondoggle on behalf of the Pentagon, right? Very problematic.
Van, just maybe for the listeners, where does this phrase military Keynesianism come from? Is that your own creation?
It's not my own creation. There's a guy, Michael Breens, who is at Yale. He had a book called For Might and Right, or For Might and For Right. But it was kind of about how ever since the 1960s, in the midst of the Vietnam War, Democrats and Republicans established this bipartisan bargain for a national political economy that was built around the military-industrial complex. And so it was using military spending as a way to lower unemployment, a way to increase aggregate demand. And it was a sucker move because ultimately it created conditions to embrace neoliberalism and to gut the welfare state and to disempower unions. So like it put Democrats on a terrain where they had to constantly like sacrifice their side of shit. But the military stuff always stayed very buoyant, right? So that's what military Keynesianism yielded. But the first time I saw the term was in that guy's book. And it floats around on the left too. Like I've seen other people use it too. So it's not mine, unfortunately.
Cool.